Hello and welcome to my video about the Mark III Iron type armor for the Horus Heresy. These guys are supposed to be the updated version or the next generation of the Mark II Crusade armor that I'll show you on screen very quickly. And although they look incredibly similar to me, I did notice right away the legs are much more refined, especially the legs. The arms too are much more heavily armored. Um, for some reason, I don't know why, but I seem to find that my heads, the actual helmets on my models, resemble the Mark II more than the Mark III. So I'm not sure what happened there. These aren't my original models, they're my friend's, so I'm wondering if he simply preferred the Mark II armor heads, um, as well as these shoulder pads having these raised sections. I haven't found them online. I don't know if they're unique to his characters or not, but everything else is fine. Certainly looks very nice. I also like how if you know what the Mark II looks like from it, then from the back, you can actually see where they've simply up armored, where there's still this layered, almost like scales on the back, which is reminiscent of the Mark II Crusader armor. But of course, from the front, there's now this armor placing on top. Um, it's said in lore terms that the Mark II was too, I guess, goofy, because in the official lore and stuff, it mentions that the Mark III here was designed to be more quote unquote intimidating, which is surprising because I didn't think that weakly armored Xenos and broken human settlements barely surviving on vegetables would have anything other than fear for even just a very basic space marine. I definitely wouldn't think, oh, I need more intimidation from these guys, but I guess it is. Certainly more streamlined. But yeah, so that's the reason why they were made, and it's very interesting to mention that in the lore too, they say that the Mark II, its predecessor, is almost completely obsolete now, as in nobody in the 41st millennium uses them, they're just gone. There's basically none left, and this is the third ever Space Marine power armor, because it went Thunder Warriors power armor, Mark II Crusade armor, and then this Mark III Iron armor. So it's actually pretty basic in terms of armor design, especially on the back you can see how bare and how almost industrial this huge cannon top looks. Definitely a lot less streamlined, a lot more bulky, almost reminiscent of samurai armor in this layered design. So it's interesting to see it go from sort of feudal Japan almost to very straightforward, medieval times. But I like these guys. I think that they're really cool. But to the whole thing where I said about, the Mark II's basically gone by now, the Mark III is said to be actually really good, and it's actually still in service in some very small amounts. And it mentions that even non-space marines enjoy using them. Like, apparently void ship specialists love these things, which is very odd to me because it's the only power armor I could find online where it specifically mentions that people who basically aren't space marines still enjoy wearing them, which I don't know why that's the thing. I might be just reading the wrong, scripts, but it felt very odd to me because surely you need the black carapace to even begin to comprehend these things, right? Like, they're massive, do you know what I mean? Sloped armor. So I don't see, a random void ship driver suddenly putting this on and being fine with it. So another weird thing is, that makes me think that's not correct is that the previous design, which is apparently just the non-armored version of this one. So this one's meant to be a direct successor to the Mark II, and the Mark II is not stated to be used by anybody other than Legionnaires. So I don't know why this one's any different. It's the same basic core design. So I'm gonna just pretend that's wrong and say that this is only Space Marines. But you guys in the comments can tell me if I'm wrong on that or not. Um, but yeah, I like them. They're really cool. Back to the whole, the whole grading system thing. I would give these guys. They're all fun to paint, especially if you have, like I do, a truckload of Norn oil. And I was like 7 painting these things, so I just love the Norn oil at the time. So these are kind of drenched in it, but they were fun to paint. Certainly more interesting than regular Marines. A lot more slopes. If you hate highlighting and you didn't want to do what I did with metallics, then that's going to be a nightmare for you. I would say a little harder, if anything. So I'd give them probably a 7 because painting a lot of these guys fast, especially if you want to do these rivets, that's going to be a pain in the ass. So 7 on painting. For the durability, I mean 10, they're fine. Like, do you know what I mean? There's no antenna, there's no flimsy halos, they're absolutely fine. So it's I think 8, wasn't it? So it's 8, 10. Oh, sorry. 8, 10. And then for the gelling with the rest of the army, I mean, these again are the main basic infantry of the Crusade. So I don't actually know if these guys were used in the Crusade because Mark II is specifically mentioned as the Crusade armor, so it absolutely is. But this one isn't, so I don't know if this is post-Crusade or not. But either way, these guys would have been, I'm guessing, the main armor type of the infantry, so they definitely gel. So it's going to be an 8, 10, 10 for me. And for overall looks, I think they're a great breath of fresh air for Space Marines, especially when a lot of the armor types look so similar. It's kind of cool to look back and go, okay, this is definitely works for what it's meant to be. It's meant to be a very hastily made, almost a stopgap for the legionnaires to crusade. So they definitely fit the role of having to be a sort of not space age space marines, but just before that, they're trying. They're like the kind of like the prototype marines, I guess, where they're not as refined. They're a lot more brutalist. They're a lot more um, hastily scrapped together. And I like that about them. That's what they're meant to be. They definitely fit that role really well. So I would give them a 10 out of 10 for that reason. That they meant to do something and they do it very, very well. So 10 out of 10 for me. So that's an 8, 10, 10, 10. Very nice. I hope you guys have a good time. Leave a comment if you like these guys or not. I love them personally. And have an amazing, amazing day. Thank you. Goodbye.